Alright, got another quick deck profile. This is for post-rotation, which is H block onwards, which is Temporal Forces, if I recall. Temporal Forces onwards, so Scarlet and Violet, Paldea Evolved, Paldea Fates, Obsidian Flames, and Paradox Rift are no longer standard legal starting in April. So this is a Mewtwo deck, which I believe could have the chance to be one of the better, funny enough, one of the better decks post rotation, despite not having any results or not any noticeable results for the pre-rotation meta. And that is because this has one of the best support engines in the game currently. And you will see very quickly. So, with this deck, there starts with two copies of Mewtwo. This is a really strong Pokemon. The only downside is its ability, which says this Pokemon can't attack unless you have 4 or more Team Rockets Pokemon in play. You only play one non-Team Rockets Pokemon, and that is a Lily's Clefairy to hit weakness on Dragon types. But you're likely going to have 4 Rockets in play because you have the one from Mewtwo, so all you need is 3 on the bench, and you can start attacking with Mewtwo. But respectfully, this is this is a really respectful amount of damage. 280 HP on a 2-prizer, which you would expect this on Mega Evolutions, because those have like 270, 280, and give up 3 prizes. But no, this only gives up 2. Erasure Ball for 2 Psychic and a Colorless does 160. You discard up to 2 energy from your benched Pokemon, and you do 60 damage for each card you discard. So, unfortunately, you cannot discard like a double Colorless, if that wasn't format. You can't discard a double energy, and that just gives you the 120. You need to discard two separate cards. So we have 2 Mewtwo. Your likely main attacker for this deck is going to be not the 4 copies of Rocket's Tarantula, but Rocket's Tarantula can actually be really good. 1 energy for 30 damage just knocks out Badu. Simple as, so it's really good. The 50 HP is somewhat of a liability, but not completely, and you will see why. 4 copies of Team Rocket Spidops. I love the ability on Spidops. If you know me, then you would know that I love playing Blacephalon Naganadel, and Naganadel had the charging up ability, which says once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy from your discard to this Pokemon. Unfortunately, Spidops is not as broken as Naganadel, because one thing that Naganadel had that Spidops doesn't was a single retreat cost. Spidops has 2. But charging up is still just as good of an ability, especially with Rocket Rush doing 30 damage for each of your Team Rockets Pokemon in play for a Grass and a Colorless. Now, unfortunately, Tarantula and Spidops both have a glaring weakness to the Dusclops line. As I said, we only play one non-Team Rockets Pokemon, so we don't play Psyduck. So you do have to deal with those Dusky boys to take out your Spidops. But that's just what we have to deal with. We don't need to deal with Dragapult, though, because we have 1 copy of Team Rocket's Articuno, which says prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to your basic Team Rocket's Pokemon. So even though your Tarantula has 50 HP, it's not getting knocked out by Dragapult's Phantom Dive, because if they try and place damage onto Tarantula, it just gets negated. Same thing with Team Rocket's Mimikyu. This is in the deck to copy, funny enough, Dragapult. It can also copy other strong attacks like, Terapagos, but you're only going to be capped out at 150, so you may as well just attack the Spidops for that. It can also copy Wellspring Mask Ogerpon to take a snipe on the bench. There's a lot of good Terra Pokemon that this Mimikyu can copy, and 60 HP, again, not that big of a deal because we have the Articuno. I would want to potentially include a second Mimikyu, just because copying the attack with Dragapult can be really good. Also a second Articuno, because this just clears up your Alakazam matchup, funny enough, because Alakazam places damage counters, not deal damage. So all you need to do is place an Articuno, place, however many basics you need to attack with Mewtwo, and just start swinging. As I said, we have 1 copy of a non-Team Rockets Pokemon, and that'll be a Lily's Clefairy. This helps you deal with Dragon Pokemon when you attack with both Mewtwo and Mimikyu. With Mewtwo, you just need to have the energy required to do the attack, maybe like 1 extra, to knock out a Dragapult, but you don't need the you don't need spoiler, the A spec is max band, but you don't need maximum belt to knock out a Dragapult. You just need the Mewtwo charged up and one Spidops, or if you just attack with Rocket's Mimikyu, that knocks out Dragapult as well. That's all the Pokemon. Like I said, I would likely try and include a second Mimikyu or second Articuno, more so preferring a Mimikyu, just because that attack ability is really powerful. Now, normally when I do deck profiles, I want to start with items for the trainers, but this time I want to start with the supporters for a obvious reason. The Rockets package has some of the strongest supporters for the post-rotation meta when we lose cards like Research, Iono, just a lot of like the standard supporters. So what better way to start the supporters than with a non-Rocket supporter and 4 copies of Lily? Shuffling your hand into your deck and drawing 8 cards if you have 6 prizes is really good, and sometimes even though you have Ariana, you just need a hand refresh because your hand is like super clogged. So the shuffle draw 8 or 6 is still really helpful, even though we've got other really powerful supporter options. Speaking of, we have 4 copies of Team Rocket's Proton. I debate going between 3 and 4. I think 3 is enough, but you want to get into the game as soon as possible. This deck also wants to go first because of this card, because it reads, search your deck for 3 basic Team Rockets Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand. The important part of the text is that if you go first, you may use this card on your first turn. So you do want to go first with this deck, which is really rare because a lot of decks right now want to go second because they get that first supporter. So you gain an advantage by having that that going first text. So we have our main draw supporter. Aside from Lily, we have 3 copies of Ariana. If I was to 4 of anything, it would probably be her, because filling your hand to 8 is really strong. It's like there's not many cards that can just give you fill hand to 8. The closest we have is, again, Lily, which is shuffle draw 8, but that's only if it's the start of the game. So we don't play Boss's Orders in this deck. Instead, we play Team Rocket's Giovanni. This is different from Boss's Orders Giovanni, because this reads, switch your active Team Rockets Pokemon with one of your bench Team Rockets Pokemon. If you do, you switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. This is a really good card for this deck, and it's another reason why I want to include 2 copies of Mimikyu, because if you can see, Mimikyu has a free retreat cost. So if you have like a powered up Team Rocket's Mewtwo in the active, you go switch into Mimikyu, retreat Mimikyu back into your powered up Mewtwo, and just swing from there. So Iono is rotated. There's no hand disrupt. There's little to no hand disruption in the format aside from like Unfair Stamp and Judge. Not for us. We have 2 copies of Team Rocket's Archer, which says you can use this card only if any of your Team Rocket's Pokemon were knocked out during your last turn. So important to note, if Lily's Clefairy gets knocked out, you can't use Archer. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck. You draw 5, your opponent draws 3. Realistically, this text should read, you draw 7 and your opponent draws 3, and you will see why when we get to the stadium count. But this is effectively like a more balanced Unfair Stamp. It is on a supporter, so it's not your A spec, but that is the important thing. It's not your A spec, so we can play something that's not hand disruption, which we are. One more supporter, we have Team Rocket's Petrol. This actually came in pretty handy. I was debating on cutting this because search your deck for a trainer doesn't sound so good when you have like all these powerful draw effects like draw till 8, shuffle draw 8, search for basics, gusting, or hand disruption. But there's a lot of trainers in this deck that you do actually just want to search out. So having the 1 copy may seem rough because you don't play like Meowth, so it might look rough on paper because there's no Meowth, but the first item that I want to go to will show exactly why, and that would be 4 copies of Team Rocket's Transceiver. This is also why I play 4 copies of Proton, because it just maximizes the outs to draw into it turn 1, going first when you can't play a supporter to find it. But this just says search your deck for a supporter card that has Team Rocket in its name, reveal it, and put it into your hand. The interesting thing about this is that it can actually be good and expanded as well, and I've been tempted to try it out there is a few expanded cards with Team Rocket in their name, and it has been ruled that you can search them out with this. But that is not the time and place. So realistically, you have 8 cards to get yourself into the game. So that's partially why I think Team Rocket's Proton should be max count. Just to get yourself there right away. We also have 4 copies of Ultra Ball. This is mostly to find the evolutions of Spidops, and you also discard your energies for charging up, because there's no Earthen Vessel anymore, so you can't easily discard the energies that way. Recovery, we have 2 copies of Night Stretcher, finding your basic Pokemon to get them back, and also energies if you need them. But you're not really going to need to recover the energies too much unless you are attacking with Spidops, because it needs, well, 2 energy that cannot be fulfilled by rockets. Other search cards, we have 2 copies of Poképad, mostly just searching for your evolution for free without needing to use Ultra Ball. There's another Pokemon search. Technically, we have 1 copy of Bug Catching Set. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 2 in any combination of Grass Pokemon and basic Grass Energy, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Most of the time, you will likely just find energies, because that is the hardest card to search for, and that is partially one problem with this deck, is that you can't really find energies too well. Maybe a copy of Energy Search could help out, but right now, Bug Catching Set does feel fine. This is a flex spot that I've been, kind of messing with. I have 1 copy of Wondrous Patch in here. I know that Rocket's decks seem to play 1 copy of Energy Switch in this spot, and I'm not against that, but I don't hate the idea of a Wondrous Patch, because it just lets you go immediately attached to Rocket's Mewtwo and then Rocket Energy, or just Wondrous Patch to the Mimikyu and then attach return, or also just power up the Clefairy right away too. Wondrous Patch serves the same purpose as Energy Switch, but I get that Energy Switch has the same somewhat effect. The only issue with that would be to get the biggest effect out of Energy Switch, you would need 2 Spidops, and I think having Wondrous Patch might just be better. But again, that is a complete flex spot. Also, an interesting damage modifier that I have in here is 1 copy of Brave Bangle. This helps out with some math with Rocket Spidops into Mega Absol. You can attack into it with only 4 Pokemon in play instead of the necessary 5 to knock out Absol. You also knock out a Pheasantipity with a full bench, because you're only doing 180 otherwise. It can help out against a decent amount of support Pokemon. So being able to Brave Bangle your Spidops and knocking out support Pokemon can be really helpful. As I said, Spec is Max Belt. This helps push Mewtwo into knocking out Mega Evolutions and also Stage 2 EXs, which are unfortunately still really strong post-rotation. So I mentioned that Archer should technically read Shuffle, draw 7, your opponent draws 5, and that is because of our stadium. We played 3 copies of Rocket's Factory. This says once during each player's turn, if they play a supporter card that has Team Rocket in their name, draw 2. So this turns Petrol into Search for a Trainer, draw 2. Archer, Shuffle, draw 7. Giovanni, switch and draw 2. This turns Ariana into effectively a GX attack. Their GX attacks were strong once per game attacks, similar to V-Stars, if you remember that. But there was one that just said, fill your hand until you had 10 cards in hand. So if you play Ariana with a Team Rocket's Factory already in play, you draw cards until you have 8, and then you will draw 2 more, filling your hand to 10. And this also turns Proton into thinning your deck of basics and then drawing 2 cards late game. So it's not the worst thing to have 4 copies of him in the deck, because you can always just turn him into a draw 2. I get that that's not the ideal point, but, it's there. So those are all the other trainers. Now on to the energy. We play Bug Catching Set, so you would assume we play mostly Grass Energy, and you'd be correct. We play 5 copies of Grass Energy. I think this is fine. I could see a 6th copy going into the list, but right now 5 feels like enough. You're not really attacking with Spidops too much, even though having the 1 prize swing is really helpful. but five feels like the nice middle ground. 6 would be like if you're really desperate for energy. 2 copies of Psychic Energy. This I could see bumping up to a third with the Wonder Patch just to have it in the discard, but I think 2 is fine. You're likely drawing into all of your energies like soon as possible anyway with how many draw cards you play. And you might think 2 Psychic Energy, that only powers up Mewtwo, just barely, so you need none of them to be prized. Well, this is where Team Rocket's energy comes into play. If it's attached to a Team Rocket's Pokemon, it can only be attached to a Team Rocket's Pokemon. This card provides 2 in any combination of Psychic and Dark Energy, so this is your double energy for Mewtwo. This powers up Erasure Ball, -1, and it also immediately powers up Rocket's Mimikyu for 1 energy. Unfortunately, this does not power Billy's Clefairy because it's not a Team Rocket's Pokemon, but that is, again, where the Wondrous Patch comes into play. So, yeah, Team Rocket's energy is really strong for that reason, just immediately powering up Mewtwo and Mimikyu. Anyways, that is everything for the Team Rocket's Mewtwo deck. Overall thoughts on this, I think this could be a relatively strong deck because you hit 2 of the most important weaknesses in the post-rotation format. Mega Absol and Zoroark are looking to be really strong, and same with Dragapult and Mega Lucario. So you're hitting Grass-type weakness on Dark Pokemon and Psychic-type weakness on all those pesky fighting types and dragons. So you are hitting the 2 best weaknesses. The only issue is, again, some of the consistency can be a bit scuffed sometimes. But if the consistency issues can be mitigated, then I think you have a very dangerous deck on your hands. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this deck. Are you excited for Rockets to finally be playable after, you know, it was one of the most laughed out decks of the format? Or are you just, you know, not looking forward to needing to buy this? Which, this deck is fine to purchase. Like, this was... most of these cards came out of the League Battle deck just straight up. So buying the League Battle deck should give you most of this, most of the core. And that deck is still going for like $20. So it's easy to pick up. But yeah, if you're interested, if you're looking forward to Rocket's Mewtwo to be finally meta-relevant, partially meta-relevant, or just, you know, excited to try something new, let me know down below. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.